We're playing Cycle Storm, my favorite Pauper deck, with 2 upgrades for Modern Horizons 3, Seething Landscape and Siege Smash. I think that they're huge improvements. Let's go see the full deck list. This video is proudly sponsored by Card Market. You're probably asking yourself, what is Seething Landscape? Well, it's a part of a cycle that was introduced in Modern Horizons 3 at Common. They are Pauper fetch lands, and so it taps for a colorless. That is the first mode. The second mode is that you sacrifice this land, search your library for a basic of the shard type. In this case, we're playing Grixis, so it gets Island, Swamp, Mountain. And then here's the kicker. It also cycles for that shard's color. So a blue, a black, and a red. You could discard this card and draw a card. Why is that so good here? Well, let's start with the obvious thing, in mana fixes. So you're able to get your Swamp or your one of Island to cast Mystical Teachings, Dahada's Ploy, or Repository Scob. Okay, we like that. Additionally, it gets the Mountain out of the sideboard to cast Siege Smash. Okay, seems fine. The second ability. You might think that it's just a fetch land, but in Pauper right now, Panza is one of the top decks, and you can play this land, and then on your opponent's end step, cycle a Drannith Healer, and then leave this in play so that way it can't be destroyed until the turn that you're ready to win, and then you go get your Black Source on their end step. So you get to protect your lands from land destruction, which is relevant right now, and I do like that. Okay, so additionally, we're not playing Artifacts lands today because you can't really play those and Seething Landscape. There's just not enough land slots in your deck. So we're also avoiding things like Artifact Destruction on our lands. Gorilla Shaman has been really popular recently. So I think that Seething Landscape gains a little bit of value there. What I love about this land, because we've had other fetch lands in the past, is that it cycles. So there's less dead cards in your deck. There's less stops. So with Barrenmoor and Seething Landscape, you only have 4 lands that stop. So 3 swamps and 1 island, I'm sorry. And then we're forced to play Blood Celebrant, a card that I admittedly do not love because it is a stop. But in this deck, it allows you to have that blue and red mana to cycle the Seething Landscape. So I think it's actually reasonable here. And this looks like a build from a couple years ago before the Deadly Dispute technology was really fleshed out and discovered. That said, I think it could be still good. That's what we're playing here today. So let me know what you think of this plan in the comment section down below. And well, I'm about to go test it, so stick around and watch the matches. I'll see you in the first one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. It is time for match number 1. We're on the play. No lands, no keep. Would have been a really good hand with a single land in it though. And here we have the Seething Landscape. We will try this. Keep, bottom Dahada's Ploy. This is a hand where you can't afford to cycle off of the Seething Landscape itself. You do have to take a turn off to go get the Swamp, just because all of our cyclers require black mana. So we'll activate the Seething Landscape, go grab the basic, and now we're looking for land number 2. Ding, play it and pass. They play a Seat of the Synod into Ichor Wellspring. Okay. We will cycle Architects of Will, cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. I realized that it could accelerate into it. I don't believe that's the game plan I should be going with here. Another Architects, let's cycle. Another Songs, we'll cycle another Architects. 4 creatures in graveyard now. And we draw a Repository Scob, which unfortunately has no good targets. We're still digging for that Reaping the Graves. Our opponent plays a Vault of Whispers into Thoughtcast. There's a Frogmite. Look at the new animation, by the way. They changed the Summoning Sickness animation. I guess you can't zoom in and have it happen. But there is a new like ripple effect rather than the spinning wheel. Deadly Dispute on the Ichor Wellspring. They have 8 cards in hand. And a Mirror Enforcer. Dark Ritual. That doesn't help us here. I still just need to find Reaping the Graves. Apparently I tapped both of my lands on accident, but it doesn't matter. We will pass. Nothing to do with this repository scob. And this is sort of the reason why, if you watch my other video, I moved away from these effects, and then now I'm currently playing Rowan's Grim Discovery with the build with the artifact lands, because this card doesn't do anything right now. I think that's a pretty big problem, where a Rowan's could have dug 6 cards deep looking for Reaping the Graves. So just a slight difference between these two builds, and I'm sort of feeling it at the moment. Our opponent's about to attack us for 11, so it's now or never. We find Reaping the Graves or we lose. Draw for turn. So you're saying there's a chance. Dark Ritual. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Healer. Cycle that. I can't make Grixis mana. I can make one or the other, but not both. So that is a loss. Okay. Not a great start. I'm going to be a sucker and draw an extra card. Lotus Petal. That would have allowed us to cycle into another cycle or into Reaping. Okay, so we were 1 draw off that game. We will now bring in the Mountain and the Siege Smashes. Board out the Repository Scob. Board down 1 Cabal Ritual. And let's do 1 cycle. Or I guess it's 2 more cards. My apologies. I could board out a land. Maybe I'll do that instead. Keep 1 extra creature in the deck. Let's try this. Game number 2 on the play again. We have a tap land. This hand's probably fine. And this is sort of the spot where I was complaining that like Blood Celebrant just like is not a good card here. And this is part of the reason why I'm going to try to not complain this entire video. I realize that I've sort of moved past this list, but I do think the Seething Landscape is worth testing. But I always hated drawing Blood Celebrant because it's just a dead card that does actual nothing until you've already won. So in this list, that changes a little bit because of the landscapes, but it's still not ideal. We'll cycle Architects. We find another Baron Moor. We'll play that and pass. And I just want less cards in my deck that do nothing, which is why even in my current list that with the artifact lands, 2 Rowans, no Mystical Dispute, like the entire deck feels like an engine that's always moving and that you're always digging for the next card. Like, yeah, you don't deterministically find Reaping the Graves, but 6 cards while filling your graveyard is a pretty big deal. All right, we're going to play land number 3 and pass. They play Thoughtcast, okay. 1 mana open. End step will cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle the Drannith Healer, that's creature number 3. Draw Dark Ritual, cycle Drannith Stinger. We draw another Stinger. Play the Landscape, and we'll just pass here. I could have tried to force a win there, but we don't have that much mana. And at least this way with the Seething Landscape, I can go get the blue source. They play another Ichor Wellspring. If they don't tap the bridge here, they're pretty strongly representing interaction of some sort, like a Dispel. Metallic Rebuke wouldn't have worked last turn or currently, so I kind of feel like it's not a Metallic Rebuke. It could be a Blue Elemental Blast or like a Dispel. Those are my reads here. We'll use the Seething Landscape. Go grab the island. Cycle Drannith Stinger into another Lotus Petal. Another Reaping, okay. We'll play Lotus Petal. Play another Petal. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Storm is 4. Storm 5, Reaping the Graves. This will return all of the creatures in our graveyard. So I could just play 2 Stingers here, but is that an effective plan? I don't actually know. So I think instead, I just want to cycle. Like, I would consider playing a Horror of the Broken Lands here if I had one, but double Stinger in the face of Blue Elemental Blast does not seem amazing to me. We draw a Siege Smash. We'll cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. So I could play Horror now, but it would die to a Galvanic Blast. So I don't want to cycle this. I would consider playing it next turn, knowing that I could cycle to keep it alive. We'll cycle Drannith Healer. Dark Ritual would allow me to play the Horror this turn. Let's do that then. Alright, Dark Ritual. Horror of the Broken Lands. And we will pass. They play Vault of Whispers into Refurbished Familiar. This is certainly one way of getting Blood Celebrant to my graveyard. And now my Horror gets a little bit bigger. They play a Candy Trail. Okay. They have 5 cards in hand, 3 open mana. Let's cycle the Drannith Stinger. Well, there's the songs, but they have counterspell mana open. I think I'm supposed to be disciplined here and just attack and pass. And they do block. What are you doing? Ooh. Okay, they gave me a window here. Let's... How do we want to do this? If they have a Metallic Rebuke and I cycle first, they can counter my songs. So I think I just want a songs here. And now we'll cycle Drannith Stinger. I could really use like a Cabal Ritual or another songs here if we want to win. Cycle Stinger. The Siege Smash will give it +3, but we have to get it the rest of the way there. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. They're going to gain 4 life off this Reckoner's Bargain too, so they will go up to 24. So if I miss on another cycler, they could Galvanic Blast my Horror next turn. So I think I'm supposed to just accept that we're not going to have lethal here. Also, drawing a Street Wraith would have been nice, because I could play the Reaping the Graves then. You know what? I'm going to cycle the Vantasaur. I feel like putting them to like 7 isn't even that good anyway. Come on, deck, pretty please. Try Cabal Ritual. We need this to resolve. So now I can Reaping the Graves, return some Stingers, and a Horror. So it's currently 14 power, 17 with the Siege Smash. Let's cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. Another Cabal Ritual would be lethal here, assuming that they don't counter this. Okay, cycle the Stinger, cycle Stinger, cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. That's 22. We'll attempt a... I mean, they're just dead here. They're going to gain 4. I mean, I can make them extra dead. Songs, Reaping the Graves. Let's return everything. I guess I was wrong. It wasn't everything, but a lot of the stuff. And now we will give our Horror of the Broken Lands +3/+2 and Trample with Split Second, so it can't be countered. Yeah, you're dead. You cannot Blue Elemental Blast that. And now we'll continue to cycle. Horror of the Beatdown is what I like to call it. Okay, just keep on cycling. Cycle a Barrenmore. Cycle another Vantasaur. Casual 37 damage, no big deal. Sweet, we've won game number 2. I will resubmit. Let's try this. Seems reasonable enough. They play a turn 1 tap land. Old Blood Celebrant, right on time. Great Furnace into an Ichor Wellspring. Let's cycle an Architects of Will. Reaping the Graves, not a bad draw, but we need a land here. Let's cycle an Architects, and if we miss on the land, I can just discard the Blood Celebrant, which is an extra creature in the graveyard for songs. They play land 3, Frogmite. Dimir Enforcer, okay. I think we're supposed to try to do something this turn. Dark Ritual, Dark Ritual. We have some mana, we have some cyclers here. If we find a songs, we're in very good shape. Oh, Street Wraith, we do play that card. Cycle. Cycle the Stingers. Another Street Wraith. Come on, deck. We'll cycle another Stinger here. Another Reaping. We need a Songs of the Damned. Cycle Stinger. Another Reaping. Cycle Drannith Healer. There we go. We drew the Songs of the Damned. And another Songs of the Damned. Opponent, you might not know it, but you are dead. Reaping the Graves. Storm is 6. So that is one thing about these lists as well, is that there's less cards to create Storm. With Deadly Dispute, it's a very easy card to play during the setup, and that means that you just accidentally have more Storm in the middle. With these older lists, it's actually a lot harder to create Storm than it is with the Deadly Dispute builds. Okay, there's a Mystical Teachings. Cycle the Stinger. Lotus Petal. Cycle the Architects. And then on this next one, we can return the Drannith, the Blood Celebrant. Everything's a Drannith in my head right now. Alright, we'll cycle Barrenmore, play Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal. Let's go grab another Songs here. Cast Mystical Teachings, we'll grab a Songs, play it for 12 mana. Reaping the Graves, this time returning the Blood Celebrant first. We're going to return everything but one creature. Alright, we have 17 total mana. We're going to be able to play Blood Celebrant and then 3 Drannith Stingers before we start pinging the opponent out. Whoa, I don't want to pass through my turn. That is not what the goal is here. I have 17 available mana. No, I don't want to pass. Alright, so let's play a Drannith Stinger. Make some red mana. Play the Stinger. Play another Stinger. So each cycle now deals 3. And if you wanted to, you could play out a Drannith Healer to gain some life here. I just don't think that's necessary. Okay, so 7 cycles will do it. We're 2 down. Cycle an Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle the Barrenmoor. And then this is the spot that you could cycle a Seething Landscape. But my question throughout this league is that actually relevant? Is that a play that we're going to do when we actually need to cycle it? Because right now it's not a need, it's a luxury. So I'm interested to see if cycling that card ever comes up in a spot where we need to do it. And I will cycle a Street Wraith, and we have won match number 1. We are now 1-0. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. Round number 2, on the play again. Sure, we'll try it. Play our lovely Invasion basic land and pass the turn. Ice Tunnel, okay, so it could be like Dimir Terror or Dimir Fairies. Another Songs of the Damned. We need creatures here, not spells. That is a creature, we'll cycle that. Play the island, pass the turn. I probably didn't need to cycle the horror on my main phase. I probably should have just passed and cycled. Wasn't really thinking. And they just passed the turn holding open 2 mana. We'll continue to cycle. Street Wraith was a good draw. This Blood Celebrant glued to my hand like the guy's will in Legacy. It's the one of you don't want to draw, so you always draw it. Cycle Street Wraith. Cycle the Barrenmoor. We're digging for theoretically land plus cyclers here. We also need a Reaping the Graves. But you want to cycle in your main phase in case you hit the land. Okay. Down to 16. There we go. So if we want to try to win next turn, we could. But it also depends on what our opponent's up to. Like, do we actually want to jam into blue-blue? Or do we want to wait until they try to tap some mana here? Thought Scour. So it's likely Dimir Terror with Sneaky Snacker if I had to guess for Modern Horizons 3. I've been known to be a little bit of a sneaky snacker myself. That is a bad dad joke about being a little chubby. Alright, so let's see what they do here. Mystical Teachings. I think I want to pass and just discard the Blood Celebrant. They play a Brainstorm. Discard Blood Celebrant and pass. Land number 4. Ponder. They do not shuffle on the Ponder. Gurmag Angler, and they're holding open Counterspell, but this still might be a good spot for us to try to win. Let's see if they'll counterspell a Cabal Ritual. Spell Pierce. Well, aren't you terrific? I hope you don't have another one. Lotus Petal. Let's attempt a Dark Ritual. Double Spell Pierce. Alright. I bet you're fun at parties. We'll play a Lotus Petal. Songs of the Damned. Songs of the Damned. Reaping the Graves. Returning the Blood Celebrant, because we're probably going to need that blue mana. Street Wraiths and then the other creatures. And I'm going to return everything here. So normally I'd cycle with all the creatures on the stack in case of Songs of the Damned, but we have 10 mana floating here. We have fewer creatures, and I might want to change my play patterns with this Blood Celebrant anyway, so I'm fine just returning everything. Dark Ritual's a fine draw. Cycle the Street Wraiths. Cycle the Horror. There's a Songs, that's terrific. Cycle. Cycle the Architects. Cycle Healer. Vantasaur. We found Reaping. Big fan. Okay, cycle the Drannith Stinger. Our Songs now makes 8 mana. Cycle the Architects. So this is a spot I could cycle a Landscape, but I don't know if 3 mana is worth it in this particular spot. Let's play Songs, I think. Play the Blood Celebrant. We'll make a blue. Well, teachings. We're going to go grab the 4th Songs of the Damned. So we're actually a little tight on mana here. Play the songs. We'll play our land for the turn. Reaping the Graves. Return all of our creatures. Our opponent's at 20. We have 14 mana, 2 of which needs to be played for a Drannith Stinger. We have no more Songs of the Damned left. So we need to figure out how we're going to win. Playing another Stinger isn't always great because your opponent can snuff out the first one in response and then you lose 2 mana. So it's usually better in these sort of spots to just cycle into a win if we can. Okay. Street Wraith. Like, Cabal Ritual is a card we're interested in. And they just concede. Nice. Guess they didn't have the snuff out. We probably want Pyroblast. So, like, a question that I often have in these matchups is, like, are you supposed to bring in all 5 counterspells? Because, like, the dispels are really for, like, the Cog Gates, where they have Thraben Charm and Prismatic Strands. Pyroblast counters everything in this matchup that we care about. It's just, do you want 5 counterspells? Like, I do feel like 5 is a little bit much. A lot of the time that these, like, Dimir Terror decks, they play, like, 1 Nile Spellbomb. It's like, is that worth bringing in the Siege Smash for? That is a question that I often ask myself. I don't really feel like this is a great to hottest play matchup. Repository Scob is terrible versus Snuff Out, so let's get that out of the deck. Something I've done in the past is say, like, we're not going to win without the Blood Celebrant, so you can just board out the Lotus Petals, especially when you're bringing in Land 13. And this way, you can have everything. You can have your Pyroblast and your Siege Smashes, but you lose out on Lotus Petal. So you lose speed for consistency, which is probably what you want in the control matchup anyway. Sure, we'll keep. Once again, we always have Blood Celebrant. The card just wants to be my friend, but I'm not interested. Turn 1, Contaminated Aquifer, sure. Seething Landscape, pass. I have found that this is a pretty good matchup for Horror of the Broken Lands. Just because, like, they have Snuff Outs, they usually don't leave in, like, I don't know what they're playing these days, but go for the throat type effects. They did not shuffle off Ponder. We will activate the Landscape. Go grab a basic Swamp. Well, I could play Horror of the Broken Lands. Sorry, hitting puberty there. Alright, Dark Ritual. Do you have a Spell Pierce? Dark Ritual. Horror of the Broken Lands. Pass the turn. I love winning with Horror of the Broken Lands. It's so much fun. Instead, they play Mental Note, getting rid of Thought Scour and another Contaminated Aquifer. They play Brainstorm, land number 3, into a Thought Scour, getting rid of 2 lands. On their end step, we'll use the Seething Landscape, and we'll probably go grab another Swamp here. Could grab the Mountain, though, if I draw into a Pyroblast. Maybe that's better. Barrenmoor. I think I actually want to play the Barrenmoor here. Attack with Horror of the Broken Lands. Before damage, let's cycle the Drannith Healer. Our creature will get a little bit bigger. Another reason to grab the Mountain is if I draw into a Siege Smash. Songs. Cycle the Street Wraith, make it 8. I realize that I could have cycled the Horror, but I want to keep at least 1 back anyway. Just so that way if our opponent plays a blocker, I can, you know, get through it. Alright, take 10. The pressure is on. They cycle a Lorien Revealed. Picks up an island. 6 cards in hand. Tolarian Terror. Nice chump blocker you got there. Alright, well, when you have 2 of them, it's not really a chump blocker anymore, but yeah, pretty good. Reaping the Graves. I think I'm in. Let's attack. Swing. Come on, double block. Do it, coward. Come on. It would also be okay if you just, yeah, there you go. Alright, so step 1, we're going to cycle this Stinger. We cannot win here like we did in the previous round because I don't have instant speed red mana in this deck. What we can do is just make our horse so big that it kills both their creatures. And now we'll play Songs. Reaping the Graves. Street Wraith. Oh. I might have messed up. I thought my storm count was higher. Cycle. So that's going to kill both their creatures. But we don't have enough cycling here to... I would have to spike another Songs probably. Cycle the Street Wraith. Or another Street Wraith into another Cycler could do it. And now we draw the Pyroblast. Okay. We'll kill both their creatures. That's fine. Pass the turn. Our opponent plays Ponder and does not shuffle. Cryptic Serpent. Okay. We find another Seething Landscape. We'll play that. Play the Blood Celebrant. And we'll pass. I think I'm good to block here. We desperately need more mana. A Tolarian Terror. Okay, we'll go grab the island. They still have 4 cards. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle the Architects. We're not realistically going to win this turn. Cycle the Horror. We just need mana. Cycle the Healer. Okay, pass. Now they'll attack for 11. This will put me to 5. They play a land. Okay, we have to draw something here. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle the Healer. So that's the ball game. Alright, so let's go to game 3. I have no regrets about boarding out Lotus Petal. We did not lose that game because we didn't have Lotus Petals. Although I wonder if maybe I should be bringing in Grizzly Survivor here. Teachings doesn't seem that great to me. Okay, I'm going to do it. Let's go. Actually, Vantasaur is better than Architects, so we'll board up that. Alright, let's try this. On the play. Sure. Keep. Play Barrenmoor, pass the turn. Contaminated Aquifer. Okay, I'm going to burn the Cabal Ritual here, and then we'll play Grizzly Survivor. Pass. Land number 2. And they Ponder. Sort of wish I didn't have double Reaping the Graves in my hand, but I think that the hand was still a keep. Like, one of it plus another land or another cycler would have been more ideal. They kept on the Ponder. Play the land. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Our Survivor will get +2/+0. Draw off the Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle Horror. Cycle Horror. And they'll take 8 this turn. That Blood Celebrant. Come on. I hate that card. Swing. They Thought Scour. Mills over a Tolarian Terror. Don't mind that. Pass the turn. They boarded an Extract Confession. Okay. I guess that makes sense after I beat them down with a Horror last game. Play Seething Landscape. Play Blood Celebrant. Pass the turn. And if our opponent plays like a bunch of cantrips this turn, I can just Reaping the Graves and get back my Survivor plus Cyclers, which would honestly be kind of nice. Sure, you can remove my Vantasaur. We'll just draw. I don't want them to be able to flash back the Rotted Reunion, so I don't want to activate the fetch land. This creature cannot block, so I'm just going to attack. And we'll pass. Tolarian Terror. I'm going to attempt a Pyroblast here. See if they respond. They swing, I'll go to 18. On their end step, Reaping the Graves. We're going to be able to get back 2 of the 3 creatures here. I'm guessing they're going to Rotted Reunion one of them. And they do. They picked the Survivor, which is interesting, because I think Survivor is actually the worst of the 3 options, because the Survivor requires me to have Cyclers. And I don't right now. We'll play a Horror. And now we'll move to the beatdown step. Hiya! Blood Celebrant, Known Beater. They Ponder. Land number 5. Another Tolarian Terror. Okay. Gurmag Angler. So I could play Stinger here and cycle, and then swing in, trying to force a trade. Or I can just play another Horror, and then start like abyssing them every turn, which I feel like is probably better. Okay. Another Reaping. Go to combat. Swing, swing. If they don't single block each creature, I could theoretically kill them. What does that mean? Okay, let's cycle a Drannith Healer. I mean, do you have a spot removal spell? Cycle the Healer. Cycle Stinger. And we win. Okay, well, we've been beating down a lot this league, and we're 2-0. Hopefully the beatdown continues. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and Mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. For round number 3, we're on the draw. I will keep this. It's been a while since I faced this person, but they're usually just someone who plays the best deck. So right now it looks like that might be just Grixis. Affinity, that is. We'll play our Seething Landscape past the turn. No, they're playing the Broodscale combo deck. Okay. Sure. They find Sadistic Glee, so that's half of the combo. That's scary. We'll start cycling. Okay. We need to find like Songs of the Damned pretty quickly if we want to win this. Cycle the Architects. Being on the draw was not ideal either. The effing Blood Celebrant. Leave me alone. No one likes you. So the thing about this deck is they often need to attack to win. There's a couple ways they can win without needing to attack, but they don't play a lot of those. Like Makeshift Munitions, for example. We draw another Cabal Ritual. Honestly, that was pretty good. Let's cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. That's 4 creatures in the graveyard. Do I want a Peanut Butter and Jam here? I don't know. I guess I can cycle the Healer and look at another card, because I could still go off with the Lotus Petal. So Teachings finds a Songs if I feel like I need one, but it does require more mana. We don't actually have that many creatures in the graveyard. We have 5. Play a Cabal Ritual. Cabal Ritual. Let's cycle the Barrenmoor down to 8 mana. Land for turn. We'll play the Blood Celebrant. And then let's Reaping the Graves. Not having Deadly Dispute in this stage of the game feels so obvious to me, because I'm like, every start that we do like this, it just feels a little anemic. Cycle. Cycle. We need mana. Cycle. Dark Ritual. So that brings me back up to 4. So I'm 1 mana short of going to get Songs of the Damned. We'll cycle again. So now I could Songs of the Damned. How many creatures do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a Songs would make 2 mana. Feels really bad, but maybe I'm supposed to. Well, Mystical Teachings, grab the Songs of the Damned. Play it. Just trying to give myself more opportunities here. Okay, that's not bad. Cycle. Again, cycle. Let's pay a life and play the Dahada's Ploy. Discard the Lotus Petal. We'll play Song. So I could have discarded the Horror and made an extra mana, but I value the card draw higher than I value the mana off the Lotus Petal. There's Reaping, but the problem is I'm so low on mana. We're going to jumpstart the Dahada's Ploy here. I think we're supposed to discard the Horror, unfortunately. And I mean, realistically, I've lost this game. Well, not lost, but I fizzled this turn. But being able to refill 7 cards here isn't the worst. And in theory, I could still cycle Street Wraith into Songs and combo off that way. But we just struggle to make mana. Alright, Songs of the Damned off the top rope. Wrong Ritual. Okay. We're going to have to pass. Cycle a Vantasaur. And there's the Songs. The next card. No Justice. Okay. And step, they're going to Deadly Dispute. Pass the turn. We can likely try another win attempt on our turn. Even though we fizzled, we're still in a spot to attempt another win. Our opponent plays another Deadly Dispute. They're digging for the other half of the combo here, the Broodscale. So we know that they have a Sadistic Glee in hand. So the way that the Broodscale combo works is the Broodscale says, ooh, a Duress. So they can take my Songs here. That changes the math a lot. So the way the combo works is their creature, whenever another creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And Broodscale says whenever a +1/+1 counter is placed on it, create a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn token. So you end up with an infinite creature with infinite mana, and then makeshift munitions, or there's a black creature where you pay some number of mana and then your opponent loses 3 life. Like, that is how it wins. We'll Cabal Ritual here. We're going to cycle digging for more mana. Cycle Street Wraith. Cycle the healer. Them hitting us Songs was brutal because we only have 1 Songs left as far as I know. Yeah, we have 1 Songs of the Dam left. Cycle the Vantasaur. There's a Reaping. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. And we hit the Songs. Wow. Alright. We make 13 mana. This is a spot where the Repository Scob ends up being good, assuming our opponent doesn't have any removal. We have a Storm count of 2. Alright, a sad Reaping the Graves for 3. We'll get back Street Wraiths here, try to save some of this mana. Mana is definitely our bottleneck. Cycle Street Wraith. Cycle Street Wraith. We have 14 cards left. We know that one of them is Repository Scob. Cycle the Stinger. Play out a Lotus Petal. That at least gives us a little bit of Storm. Cycle the Architects. There's the Scob. Cycle Architects. We'll make a blue. Play Repository Scob. We'll exploit itself. Puts another creature to the graveyard. Get back Songs of the Damned. Cycle this Drannith Stinger. Actually, no. I might want to play the Stinger for Storm for this Reaping the Graves. Let's return the Repository Scob. We might need it for mana. Return Street Wraiths. Stinger. Stinger. Plus some other cyclers. Very close game. So one of the things about playing the build with the Deadly Dispute in it is I feel like you're not forced to cast your Seething or your Songs of the Damned as early. So they end up making more mana because you're so much better at putting creatures to the graveyard and digging for your Cabal Rituals and Dark Rituals. And I'm sorry that I keep on comparing the deck lists, but these are just observations that I'm noticing while I'm playing, and I'm like freeform sharing them. I'm not necessarily trying to sell you on whatever list. Like, if you like this one, play this one. Like, I do believe people should play whatever they like. But I am just sharing observations. The 4th Stinger. Might as well play it. And I always talk about how whenever I have 4 Stingers in play, I always think of the Danny DeVito. And then, so anyway, and then I started blasting. Because I have 4 Stingers just blasting away. And it looks like we're going to win game number 1 over the Broodscale combo deck. Sweet. I don't think I even want a sideboard. We're just going to resubmit. We will keep turn 1 Forest into Nile Spellbomb. Alright, so I didn't realize that these decks were playing Spellbomb now. Maybe I should have boarded in the Siege Smash. But we could still beat a Spellbomb. It is not impossible. Okay. Dark Ritual. We'll cycle a Imposing Vantasaur here. We're looking for land 2. Lotus Petal. Let's play out the Lotus Petal and pass. They play a Malevolent Rumble. They chose Swamp. Okay. We draw another Lotus Petal. Cycle a Drannith Healer. Let's cycle Street Wraith. See if I can just hit a land. There we go. Play the land, pass. They play an Ichor Wellspring. So one of the big differences between Nile Spellbomb and Relic, and why I feel so differently about the cards, is the Spellbomb doesn't eat away at my graveyard while I'm trying to set up. Like, versus Nile Spellbomb, I can still just cycle until I feel like I can beat the Spellbomb by forcing them to use it in a spot like this, where they're like, okay, I can get 4 creatures, or I can have double Reaping the Graves or double Songs of the Damned, and if they try to interact to one, I cast the other and then get them. So they're pretty different. Like, Relic is very tough to beat, Spellbomb is very beatable. And here we're seeing the opponent think a long time about whether or not they want to exile my graveyard. And they allow me to draw. Okay. We draw a Stinger. Let's play it. Play out the Lotus Petal and we'll pass. The Deadly Dispute. Duress hurts. Okay. A lot of these builds play like 1 to 2 Duress in the main deck, and then they play the rest of them in the sideboard. The Molten Gatekeeper, okay. Still 5 cards in hand. Cycle Architects of Will. I suppose I could have tried to Reaping the Graves in response and like force the Spellbomb activation in response to the Duress. That might have been better. Yeah, I might have messed up there. I should have just like forced them to use the Spellbomb. There's the Basking Broodscale. So if they have the Sadistic Glee, we're dead to the Molten Gatekeeper. And they do. So I'll let them do a couple loops just to show you. So they can now sacrifice the spawn, which triggers the Sadistic Glee. And now the Basking Broodscale creates another Eldrazi spawn, and it's an infinite loop. And I will now take infinite damage, and we can go to the next game. Okay. Let's try bringing in the Siege Mash and the Mountain. Board out the Dahada's Ploy. Board out a Swamp. And then we'll do a couple cyclers. Let's try this. Game 3, we're on the play. Sure, let's try this. Keep. This could be an early Horror of the Broken Lands, but I do feel like our opponent's deck is very good at creating just chump blockers with Eldrazi spawn, so I don't know how I feel about that, but it is an option. Play Seething Landscape, pass the turn. They play a bridge. I'm just going to cycle here. I realize that I could go get a basic swamp. I just don't need one right now. And that allows for a turn 2 horror. Okay. Should I go for it? My gut's telling me yes. Let's try it. Horror of the Beatdown. They play land number 2. Cleansing Wildfire, sure. Another land here would be really nice. Songs of the Damned. Cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. Dark Ritual, okay. We'll swing, they'll take 6. Pass. They play a Rumble. So they get to look at the top 4 and create an Eldrazi spawn. Kark-Clan Shaman, Cleansing Wildfire, Ichor Wellspring, and a Twisted Landscape. They take the Kark-Clan Shaman. Interesting. I guess it is a chump blocker. Player Island, let's attack. They do choose to block. And now they Deadly Dispute. My creature's been blocked. I can't give it trample. We will pass the turn. Duress, okay. They probably take the Teachings here. Let's see. No, they go for the song still. Surprising. Chromatic Star. Colony Garden, so now they have another blocker. We'll use the Seething Landscape. Go grab Swamp. Drannith Healer, we will attack. They block again. And another Deadly Dispute. Okay. Cycle the Healer. I think I should start to pivot off this game plan. Try to figure out how I'm going to win, because I don't think we're going to get there off of Horror anymore. The Rumble. They boarded in Weather the Storm, and they find a Nile Spellbomb. So maybe I am still on the Horror plan. They play Kark-Clan Shaman. Chromatic Star, okay. So they can sacrifice 4 things here to kill my Horror. But I don't know if they'll do it. Oh, they're going to. Okay. And they're going to do it for 5. So even if I cycle the Street Wraith, my Horror will die. Okay. You've got it. They have 7 cards in hand, too. Okay. Land? Card we don't need. Let's cycle the Street Wraith. Cycle the Stinger. Play the Landscape and pass. There's the Brasking Broodscale. Sadistic Glee. So they have an infinite creature next turn. We'll activate the Seething Landscape to go get our Mountain. I mean, the odds we win this game are so low. And they're going to use the Spellbomb here. I guess I won't grab the Mountain now because the Mountain doesn't make sense. Cycle Horror. Cycle Barrenmore. Dark Ritual. Cycle Barrenmore. Like, we're just not going to win this. Cycle Barrenmore. Alright, well, we got our first loss. We're now 2-1. If you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. Match number 4, we're on the draw, and I'll be honest with you, this is one of the better opening hands that we've drawn so far. Looking to see how we do with it. Great Furnace. And a Goblin Tomb Raider. Okay, well, pressure's on. We will go to 18. Definitely not a beatdown matchup. Play out the Swamp, pass the turn. Another Goblin Tomb Raider. Yeah. Okay, we'll go to 14. They have 3 cards left in their hand. Cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands. We draw a Barrenmore. We'll play a Swamp, pass the turn. Implement of Combustion into a Kuldotha Rebirth. So they'll draw a card, they get 3 1/1s. They could still attack for 4, and then they have a land drop. They play their land. They have 2 cards left. They attack for 4. I will go to 10. On the end step, we will cycle a Drannith Stinger. Reaping was a good draw. Cycle Barrenmoor. Another Cabal Ritual. Okay. We do need some creatures. Start off with a Dark Ritual. Play Lotus Petal. Cycle Street Wraith. I'll go to 8. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. We are 1 card off from Threshold now. Dark Ritual. Play a Cabal Ritual. Another Cabal Ritual. Cycle Street Wraith. So I'm going down to 6. If they have Lightning Bolt, Fire Blast, I'm dead. Cycle. Cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. Dark Ritual. We'll play Reaping the Graves. It should return everything here. I'm actually going to target the Street Wraiths last, only because I'm so low on life. Okay, so we'll target other creatures first. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Repository Scob. So Drannith Healer or the main deck to Hottest Ploy, or okay, well there's a healer. We're going to return everything now. Gain a little bit of life. Play the healer. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Try to go up to 7. They could have a Lightning Bolt, but we'll see. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands down to 2 mana floating. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Okay. There's a Songs of the Damned. Let's cycle a Street Wraith. This is effectively only lose 1 life because of the healer. Cycle the Street Wraith. Repository Scob is now better because we have a Lotus Petal, assuming our opponent doesn't have a Lightning Bolt in hand. Cycle the Vantasaur. We find Blood Celebrant. Play the Swamp. Cycle Stinger. Another Song. Cycle Healer. Seething Landscape. Okay, Songs of the Damned. And now they're going to kill the healer after all that? No way. Alright. So they let that go. We'll play Blood Celebrant. Let's try a Repository Scob here. I mean, they just showed us that they have Bolt, but I can't win if this doesn't work. So we just have to take the chance. Just not a big fan of this card. Like, Rowan's would be so much better here. No way. They're just giving it to us. Okay, we'll make blue. Like, if they had just bolted the Scob here, I lose. Make another blue. Repository Scob. Exploit itself. Return Reaping the Graves. Oh no! I just realized I don't have any black mana floating. Oh, I'm an idiot. I had this game won. Oh, I'm an idiot. I've never played Magic before. Please forgive me. Okay, so that was terrible. Let's try to win the postboard games. You can't take me anywhere. Okay. Board out the teachings, board out the Scob. Just have to play better. We'll board out a couple copies of Architects and try this. No excuses for that, just blanked. Okay, I'm gonna play for game number 2. I don't think this is a keep. Sure. Get rid of Barrenmoor. Play the Landscape, pass. Goblin Tomb Raider, yeah. Yep. Fetch. Go grab the mountain. We only have 1 blue card, so like fetching the island seems a little suspect. Play the swamp and we'll pass the turn. Voldaren Epicure. And another Tomb Raider. Good draws from the opponent. Yep. I mean, this is the punish for throwing away game 1. But, oh well. Cycle the healer. Cycle Stinger. Okay. Cycle the Street Wraith. Cycle Vantasaur. I don't think I'm supposed to try to play towards the Horror Beatdown, so I'm just going to cycle. Pass. I thought about it there. If I could have just gone Songs into Horror, I probably would have tried it. But we don't have a Reaping the Graves. There was only 1 cycler in our hand. Technically 2, but 1 if you play out the Horror. It just seems pretty unlikely to win. So they can attack for 5 here and put me to 6. The red deck with 5 cards in hand, 2 open mana, can they deal 6 damage? The odds are probably yes. And you might be thinking, why would you leave in Street Wraith versus the burn deck? The reality is, Street Wraith makes you a lot faster, and this is a speed-based matchup, so like you just have to lean on your the hottest ploys and healers more, but it just never mattered. And we got smushed. So we are now 2-2. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? The final match of this Pauper League, we're on the play. Sure, we'll try this. Play a landscape, pass the turn. Basic plains. On the end step, we'll activate the Seething landscape. Go grab a swamp. Play another landscape, pass the turn. So I realize that we're 2-2 right now, and that it's partially my fault. We theoretically could be 3-1. Who knows if I would have won both post-board games, but I had that game one locked up. That said, I feel like playing this deck list, because it's been a while since I've played a traditional Cycle Storm list. This list looks very reminiscent of like lists from a couple years ago, and it feels so much less powerful. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory way towards people that still play this list, but it doesn't feel as broken as the list that I've been playing. So our opponent hasn't done anything, which is pretty scary. I'm not really sure what they're up to. I think I'm going to hold the Baron more. I could play it, but I'd rather just cycle it. Our opponent plays a Vault Scourge. Hyena Umbra, okay. Cartouche of Solidarity. So it looks like they were waiting to draw a creature, and they drew one. Okay, so I'm back. I was having an issue with my contact. I had to put it back into solution, all that good stuff. So I've lost a couple of minutes on my clock, and now we're just going to get back to cycling. Got to keep that cardio up. Cycle a Architects of Will. I guess we'll play the Barrymore now. Pass the turn. I, in theory, could have played it last turn, but I was worried about running out of cards to cycle. Maybe that's not a valid concern, but it's what I was thinking about. Okay, they've created a very large Vault Scourge, and now they're attacking. I'm at 13. We draw an island. We'll play it. Play Cabal Ritual. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle Drannith Healer. There's a Songs of the Damned. That's not bad. Cabal Ritual, certainly welcome here. Play out the Lotus Petals. Cabal Ritual. Songs of the Damned, and then Reaping the Graves will return everything. And I have enough mana floating where I'm just going to bring everything back. Like, I could cycle with it all in the graveyard, but I'm just being a little lazy here. Cycle the Street Wraith, cycle Drannith Healer, Repository Scob, okay. We're at 24. I think it's actually wrong to play out a Stinger here. We're just not at the point where we have enough mana to really go for it. Although I do think it's like a reasonable play, I just don't know if it's the correct play. Because our opponent also has 24 life, so it's easier to just play like a bunch of Stingers at the end and make sure you win, rather than potentially fizzle because you end up a couple mana short. There's a Tahada's Ploy. Alright, we've burned through a lot of mana here. I believe we're supposed to play the Repository Scob and get back a Songs. We'll use a Lotus Petal to cycle the Imposing Vantasaur and get one more mana. Dark Ritual. Cycle the Barrymore, and another Songs. Songs of the Damned. We'll make a blue, play Tahada's Ploy, discard a landscape, cast Songs of the Damned, make another blue, Mystical Teachings, grab another Songs, play the Songs, Reaping the Graves, and now our opponent is definitely dead. Okay, and now let's make some red mana. We'll play a Stinger, and now we'll just start cycling. Just putting cards on the stack. Going to start auto-yielding to some triggers here, and then the stack will clear. We'll take some damage. We drew another Stinger. Love that. 2 more Stingers. So the reason that some people really like Blood Celebrant is that it allows people to turn their brain off. And well, as you saw in the last match, turning my brain off created a loss, but it allows people to just at the end of the combo just be like, oh, I could just play out 4 Stingers and win without much thought. You need a little bit of thought, which I wasn't capable of, don't get me wrong, but it makes things super easy. I am not necessarily interested in making things easy. I just want the most efficient list possible. And if you've watched this league, you'll see how many times I drew the Blood Celebrant. The card was glued to my hand. And I don't want a dead card in my deck that I'm constantly going to draw that just doesn't help me win the game. So like I've never really been a fan of this card for that reason, but people seem to enjoy the well, I could just play everything and all my colors always work, and yeah, I guess that's true, but I think just playing Deadly Dispute is better. And if you're playing Deadly Dispute and Lotus Petal, you have 8 ways to cast Drannith Stinger. You just don't need it. So we've won game number 1. I'll bring in a couple copies of Siege Smash here. I've seen lists that have Relic in the board, so I'm a little bit worried about it. Just brought out a couple Cyclers. We'll try this. It's a little slow, but this hand has potential. I will keep. Lanes into the Trailblazer. Play Barrenmoor past the turn. Vault Scourge. And a Sentinel's Eyes. We'll get hit for 2. Another Barrenmoor. Player land past the turn. Another Sentinel's Eyes. And there's a Relic. Good start. Let's go grab our mountain and hope that we draw into one of our 2 copies of Siege Smash. Cycle the Barrenmoor. Play Lotus Petal past the turn. They cycle a Secluded Step. And another Sentinel's Eyes. I don't know if we're capable of winning this, because I have to deal with a Relic and Lethal next turn. We'll cycle Imposing Vantasaur. So, like, I could, like, in theory, go, like, Cabal Ritual, Mystical Teachings for Siege Smash, but, like, that's not a winning line. So we're not going to do it. Cycle Street Wraith. We find a Songs of the Damned. Crack for blue. Crack for black. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Well, there's the Siege Smash. Do they let Cabal Ritual go? It's so unlikely, but we gotta go for it. Destroy the Relic. Split second. Cabal Ritual. Reaping the Graves for 4 sad creatures. Cycle Street Wraith. Cycle Drannith Stinger. I'm at 2 life, by the way. Another Reaping. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Cannot cycle Street Wraith. Not allowed. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Songs of the Damned. Cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. Find a Swamp. Cabal Ritual. Reaping the Graves. We'll put the Street Wraith on the bottom. So the idea is that if I find the Dahada's Ploy or a healer, I could theoretically cycle the Street Wraiths again. But I just feel like we're so constrained on mana, it's not a thing that will happen. Okay, we're getting really low here. There's a healer. We have fizzled. Okay, game 3. I guess I'm pressured into boarding in the 3rd Siege Smash. Take out Teachings. It's just too clunky, I think. Try it again. Okay, on the play. Game 3, the final game of this league. We will try it. It's slow, but it has the Siege Smash. We can't actually cast it, but it has it. Play Barrenmoor. Pass the turn. Vault Scourge, okay. We'll cycle trying to find a landscape here. We did not. Landscape would be ideal because I could find the mountain for Siege Smash. They play Skyguard, okay. Swing 1. Dark Ritual. Let's cast it. I just want to get the extra cycles in this turn. Trying to dig for those lands. No land. Okay, pass. Cartouche of Solidarity, okay. Sentinel's Eyes. And another Cartouche. So now they're going to swing for 8, putting me to 11. Theoretical Lethal next turn. And I'm stuck just digging for land 2. Way too late, and it's a tap land. So what does a winning game look like here? I think I'm supposed to play out the healer. It can chump block a warrior token and gain 1 life. I mean, it's not very sexy, but it's what I have. So, pass the turn. Our deck just did not come together this game. Block the warrior token. They play Sacred Cat. And another Sacred Cat. And another Vault Scourge. Okay, and I have double Siege Smash in hand that does nothing. And now we have a landscape. The deck just did not want to win today. I mean, neither did I. I threw a game, so I can't blame it all on the deck, but tough spot. Siege Smash number 3. Okay, we will cycle a Stinger. I don't think there's a single draw that gets me out of this, so I don't know why I'm continuing, but I can. Cycle. Okay, so we went 2 and 3. Not the best, let's be honest here. Throughout the league, I sort of said my thoughts on this deck list. 1, I hate Blood Celebrant. It was not fun playing that card again. It is the Gaia's Will effect, where it's always in my hand. I don't want to see it. It's just miserable. The the landscape cycling never came up, which means that it's not likely going to come up with a larger sample size either. Because in order for this to be relevant, you have to have like tons of mana off of Songs of the Damned and a Blood Celebrant in play with nothing else to do. So maybe these lands actually aren't that great. And if these lands aren't that great, maybe you should just be on the artifact land build, where you have Deadly Dispute, where you're able to dig deeper into your deck. It naturally builds Storm Count and creates the colors, so you don't need Blood Celebrant. I think the only way I would want to work on this list more is if the original artifact land cycle from Mirrodin was banned. Because I can't see a world in which Seething Landscape is better than the artifact land build. And this is what I've... actually, that's not it. This is the list that I've been working on here, where you have 2 main deck Rowan's Grim Search, you have Deadly Dispute. Like, things just flow a lot better with this deck list. I was just goldfishing this in the freeform practice room, and one thing that I was doing was seeing how deep I could get into my deck before I ever had to cast a Reaping the Graves. And there was a couple games where I got down to 21 cards, and even one game where I got down to 17 cards in deck without ever even needing to play Reap the Graves, because you're so good at drawing cards between Deadly Dispute, Rowan's Grim Search, and then just like cycling really efficiently. And I don't know, I think that there's something here. I've been thinking about Dispel in the sideboard for Thraben Charm, but I'm not even sure if that's like a real issue. You could also just play Duress if you want to, because you duress them, they respond, and then you respond with like Songs of the Damned plus Reaping the Graves or whatever. But Dispel is a card you could think about. I really do like the Grizzly Survivors right now due to Siege Smash. Sideboard to Hottest Place to swap with Rowan's Grim Search against red decks, just because having 6 effects that lose life in your deck versus red is kind of tough. And when you have 2 to Hottest Place, the street rates become very reasonable. Another thing is, here we have 8 blue sources between Lotus Petal and Deadly Dispute. The list we played today, I actually felt like the blue cards were hard to cast off of 1 island and or Petal and 1 Blood Celebrant. So I think even just looking at raw mana source color count, this list is more efficient at casting blue spells. So just some food for thought. You don't have to play one list or another. You could play a mix, you could play one, like it doesn't really matter. Play whatever makes you happy. But I think that this list is probably stronger. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'm sorry that I punted a match, I really am, but sometimes I make mistakes. Thank you for watching, I hope you have a great day, and as always, keep storming. What you should do is like, comment, and subscribe, because there's no better way to support us. And if you enjoyed this video, head over to moxfield.com and follow us there. It's truly the best deck website on the internet. We update all of our decks there regularly with the latest and greatest technology, so you're always up to date. Once again, go check out Moxfield, and thank you for watching.